Hey there, have you ever walked past a beautiful old building, or maybe even just glanced at your kitchen countertop and really wondered where that stone came from? Well, these materials aren't just strong and pretty, they each have an incredible story to tell, a story that starts deep inside the earth. And today, we're going to dig into those stories. Seriously, just think about it for a second. The cobblestones on an old street, those grand granite steps at a museum, the slate tiles on a roof. Where did they actually come from? They seem so permanent, so ancient, but every single one has a dynamic origin story. And you know what? That story of creation is exactly what geologists use to understand them. It's not just about what color they are or how hard they feel. It's all about how they were formed. This gives us a really powerful way to classify every type of stone we use to build things. And it all boils down to this one simple number, 3. Yup, there are 3 main geological classifications for building stones, and we're about to break down each and every one. First up, we've got igneous rocks, and that name is a huge clue. It comes from the Latin word for fire, which is honestly the perfect way to describe how they're made. That's right, these rocks are formed directly from fiery, hot, molten material. When this stuff, called magma, is way down beneath the Earth's surface, it cools off really slowly. But when it erupts from a volcano as lava, it cools down fast. Either way, that cooling process is what turns liquid rock into the hard, crystalline stones we see all around us. Now, 2 of the most common and most important igneous rocks in construction are granite and basalt. You've definitely seen both of them, probably even today, without even realizing it. Let's take a closer look. Granite is a rock we see absolutely everywhere. Because it cools down so slowly deep underground, its atoms have plenty of time to organize themselves into these large interlocking crystals that you can actually see with your own eyes. This structure is what makes it so incredibly strong and durable, which is why we use it for things that need to last practically forever, like monuments, building foundations, and of course those super popular kitchen countertops. On the flip side, we have basalt. This is an igneous rock that forms when lava cools really quickly right on the surface. It's dense, it's dark, and it is extremely tough. That makes it the perfect material to be crushed up and used in concrete and asphalt to pave our roads. All right, so our second category takes us from fire to water. These are the sedimentary rocks, and they tell a story of accumulation, pressure, and time, a story that's written in layers. You see, these rocks are made from tiny bits and pieces of other things. We're talking sand, pebbles, shells, and all sorts of other debris. Over millions and millions of years, these particles settle down, usually at the bottom of a river or an ocean, and they get buried. The sheer weight from everything above compacts them, and then dissolved minerals act like a natural glue, cementing all those little bits together into solid rock. And this whole process gives us some very familiar building materials. The 3 big ones you should know are sandstone, limestone, and shale. Sandstone, well, the name kind of gives it away. It's essentially compressed sand. It's been a favorite for builders for centuries because it's relatively easy to cut and carve into blocks or fancy decorative pieces. But it's still pretty durable. You'll see it in countless historic buildings all over the world. And then you've got limestone, which is a true workhorse of the modern world. It's formed mostly from the shells and skeletons of tiny marine organisms. But its most critical use today, it's the primary raw material for making cement. I mean, without limestone, we wouldn't have concrete, which is the most widely used building material on the entire planet. And that brings us to our third and final category, the transformers of the rock world, metamorphic rocks. These are stones that have gone through a complete change, a metamorphosis, because of some really intense heat and pressure. This is such a fascinating process. A metamorphic rock starts its life as something else, either an igneous or a sedimentary rock. But then, deep within the Earth's crust, it gets subjected to incredible heat and pressure. It's not enough to melt it, but it's enough to completely rearrange its crystal structure and create a brand new type of rock. It's almost like rock alchemy, and you can see the transformations right here. Notice how each example has a parent rock. Limestone, a sedimentary rock, transforms into marble. Shale, another sedimentary rock, gets squeezed into slate. Sandstone becomes quartzite. And even tough old igneous granite can be morphed into gneiss. Let's look at marble for a second. When limestone gets hit with all that heat and pressure, its crystals recrystallize and interlock, creating that smooth, elegant stone that's so prized for sculptures and beautiful flooring. It's a true transformation from a practical rock into a luxury one.
And what about slate? Well, the intense pressure that gets put on the sedimentary rock shale realigns all of its clay minerals into these perfect flat sheets. This special property is what allows us to split it into those thin, super durable tiles that have been used for roofing for hundreds of years.
So, we have rocks born from fire, rocks made of layers, and rocks that have been totally transformed. But why does understanding all this classification stuff actually matter for building? Looking at this summary, you can really see the link, right? There's a clear connection between how a rock is formed and its basic properties. Igneous rocks, born from cooled magma, tend to be crystalline and really hard. Sedimentary rocks, built from layers, can be more porous. And metamorphic rocks? They get entirely new properties, like the beautiful patterns in marble or the perfect way that slate splits. An engineer or an architect has to know this stuff. You wouldn't use a soft, porous sandstone for a road surface, and you wouldn't use heavy granite for a delicate sculpture if something else worked better. Matching the rock's properties, which, remember, come from its geological origin, to the job is absolutely essential for making sure our buildings are safe and will last for a long, long time. And that leaves us with a final thought. We've built pyramids, cathedrals, and skyscrapers from these ancient materials. So as we look to the future, which of these stones, or maybe a new material we haven't even thought of, will we choose to build the next great wonder of the world, one designed to stand for millennia? It's something to think about. Thanks for watching.